If you enjoyed today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel. When you do, make sure you hit the notification bell. That means that you will be informed of when a new video has been released. If you would like to take that support one step further, you can do that via Patreon, which is an optional monthly service. You can donate money towards the channel, or you can go over to Ko-fi.com, and for the price of a coffee you can help donate towards the channel as well. Links for all of those will be in the description of the video, and without further ado, enjoy the video. Okay, here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you happen to be listening to another episode of the Non League Nosh. I am James. Sadly, I am not joined by Adam this evening. Work this week has just completely taken every bit of energy out of him. So I am on my own this evening. Well, I say I'm on my own. If you're watching from a YouTube perspective, you'll know the gentleman who is on the left side of my screen is none other than former pro Kris Taylor. How are you, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Good, thanks. I'm just enjoying a bit of breathing space from work, I think, at the moment.
How have you kind of been adjusting to life in lockdown? What's it been like for you?
I think for me personally, it's not been probably too bad because I've obviously still been involved in football, obviously working full time now. You know, you find your time with your family is limited. Mm-hmm. So for myself, I've probably enjoyed a lot more time, you know, with my kids, with my wife, that I don't normally get. Yeah. So I've probably one of a few people, I suppose, who's quite enjoyed being at home and being able to spend more time with them, really.
Yeah, definitely. Have you been one of those kind of people that's taken up any new hobbies or new interests, or found yourself studying something that you wouldn't normally have the time to do? Because, I mean, to be honest, I'm probably in the same boat as you. I've just been spending the majority of my time with my little boy. That's what's taking up the majority of my time.
Yeah, I think for myself, it's been a good opportunity really to obviously get some of the things done that you've been wanting to do, like in the house. But it's been getting fit. Do you know what I mean? Because it's been a long time since I've had the time to really kind of, you know, get the work in and getting kind of back to somewhat condition that, you know, I was a few years ago. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I've just been doing a lot of fitness work, which, you know, I've really enjoyed it. And obviously I was doing different types of running because I was due to do the London Marathon.
Really?
Obviously in April, yeah. So that's obviously been pushed back to October now. So I'm still maintaining that anyway. But then I've just been doing obviously more football specific stuff because, you know, although I'm 36, I still want to, you know, I've still got to try and keep up with the young pups when it comes to pre-season and going into my 21st pre-season.
Yeah, definitely. Normally at this kind of part of the show, we go into some kind of quick-fire questions, but I want to touch on very briefly. You said that obviously you're still involved in football. Yeah. You're within the coaching setup of Walsall Wood. Is that right?
No, I've gone to Chasetown.
Okay.
Yeah, I've gone to Chasetown with the previous manager. The manager went from Walsall Wood to Chasetown.
Okay.
So obviously, you know, he wanted to take me with him, so sure. I've gone there with him.
Okay. So your season, obviously, like many others in the non-league, has kind of been, you know, has been completely cut short. What do you make of the decision to do it? Because obviously at the time there was a bit of an uproar about the way that it's been handled in terms of it just being completely cancelled outright. Do you think that they made the right decision cancelling it? And if so, do you think the decision to just completely scrap the season and nothing counts is the right thing as well?
I think it's a really tough one because naturally you've got, I think I read there's a few teams which were pretty much have won championships, you know, based on the points that they've got. So I do feel for those guys. You know, there's teams which have been kind of trying so hard for many years to get up there, and then it looks like they're going to finally get over the line, and obviously, you know, this happens. But I think whatever decision was made, there'd have always been somebody or something that would be kind of on the other side of the fence that was arguing the other way. So it's a difficult one, and it's probably a decision that they'll never have to make again.
Yeah.
In terms of what it is. So, you hope that it's being made with the right kind of avenues being looked at, rather than what other people kind of suggest it's down to finance, which is obviously massive in non-league football. But I think either way, I think there's arguments for and against. But obviously for ourselves, it didn't really affect us too much. But like I say, I know there's a lot of disappointed people that felt that the teams that were pretty much over the line should be given that right, having played majority of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it'll be interesting to see if there are any changes to it, because I know that recently quite a few clubs have banded together in the non-league scene and they're going for another appeal. There was the original appeal, I think about a month or so ago, that the FA quickly put to bed, said absolutely not. But that looks like it's now resurfacing, and a club local to me, Stowmarket, who were, I think, 20 points clear at the top of the table, literally were only a few games away from winning it. They're one of them, naturally, who are upset by the decision. But I think, truth be told, once the FA have made up their minds, there's not really going to be anything that's going to change it, really.
I think the only issue is, obviously, if the FA are making the decision, it should have been made throughout. I mean, I don't think it should have been a case of, that league can do that, that league can do that. It needed to be kind of across the board. This is the FA decision on promotions, relegations, whatever, and it should have just been done right from the top, right the way through. So then everyone's on the same platform and on the same kind of understanding of the reasons. I think it's difficult for some people to say, well, hang on a minute, that league's been decided on points per game, but that league isn't. So it's and that's the difficulty. I think that probably why people are so upset. I mean, I think the FA probably needed to take a little bit of kind of a grasp of it from every league, and not just the ones that may be influenced with the most financial gain and things like that.
Yeah, that's it. This is the thing, because National League, obviously, step 1 to 3 is still to be decided. That's kind of up in the air. From our perspective, the local to me, the Suffolk localised teams, the top division, which was step 7, had to be cancelled because that's what the FA said. So step 8 to 9 had to follow suit because the top division couldn't. But then the Norfolk divisions, they've decided actually they are going to reward some of those teams that have got promoted. So yeah, it is a bit of a mess.
I think that's probably the only frustration, because of obviously different positions clubs find themselves in, that I think it needed to come from the top and then trickle down, and everyone under the same kind of decision.
That's it. That's exactly it. So before we get into talking about your career in the game and the various clubs that you went to, we do quick fire questions on here just for our audience to get to know you a bit. So This is the part where you say, yes, James, I've done my research and I know the questions that are coming up, but let's get into it. Chinese or Indian?
Indian.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Oh, 0 for 2 in my eyes. Your favourite biscuit to dunk?
It's got to be a chocolate hobnob.
Yeah. Most popular answer in there, I have to say. Favourite alcoholic drink? What's your go-to if you have one?
It depends what my aim is. If I'm on a good session with the lads, then it'll probably be vodka. Normally vodka Coke, vodka something. But if it's just a couple of social ones or something, I'm partial to a Peroni. That's probably my favourite.
Nice. Instagram or Twitter?
Twitter.
Good call. Favourite type of music? What you into?
I'm quite easy listening, really, if I'm honest. But probably the last thing I was listening to when I was running was probably like a bit of a old school R&B type music, going back, 15 years ago, when I used to go out a lot more.
Good call. Favourite box set? So what type of TV programmes would you say are your favourites?
I love Game of Thrones when it was on.
Yes, good man.
I've obviously, probably like everyone, I've recently watched the Michael Jordan documentary.
I'm still to watch that. Really,
yeah, it's brilliant.
Everyone
really
comes
good.
on and says about it.
Yeah. I think anyone that's been involved in sport at any level knows can kind of almost obviously not relate to what he did and achieved in terms of the greatness, but in terms of the kind of everyday kind of mentality almost, when it was his drive and everything was ridiculous, and you can see why. You know, obviously he was ridiculously talented, but it was his drive and everything else that kind of took him, you know, to where he got, really.
Do you know what? Every guest that comes on here says that show. I really need to sit down and just find some time to watch it. It's not like I've got any excuse at the moment. It's just
I know, exactly.
Favourite film?
Favourite film?
We ask the tough questions here on the Non League Nosh.
Yeah. I'd probably say, this is going to sound probably a really strange one to go for, but Toy Story across the board, because obviously when I was a kid, I enjoyed watching, you know, I like them.
Yep.
And then obviously I've developed, and then when I've got kids, my kids love them. So I'm probably going to say Toy Story for that kind of feel of the way I've kind of grown up with it, and so are my kids.
I like it. And then as an adult, you then understand half the jokes that you didn't understand when you were a kid, and you were just more interested in other stuff. Definitely. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Good call. Other than football, what's your favourite sport?
Probably golf.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What's your handicap? Do you have one?
Well, I've got an unofficial one at the moment because, I played yesterday and he made me play. The guy I played with made me play 14. So I'm all right, but I used to be, when I was playing football and I was going 4 times a week, I was a bit of a bandit off 8.
Right.
So, but that was obviously playing a lot now. Now I play probably 5 or 6 times a year. Yeah, but at the minute, I'm taking a little bit of advantage at the moment and trying to get once a week.
Yeah, my old man's massive into my golf. He'll love the answer. FIFA or Football Manager?
I don't really play either, to be honest. I'd say when I was a kid, I'd say FIFA. Yeah. I'm not a gamer. I'm not a gamer at all.
No, that's fair. Who do you support?
I was a Man Utd fan. Well, still am a Man Utd fan, but I was season ticket holder when I was a kid, so.
Good, cool. Favourite player growing up?
Roy Keane.
Yeah. Oh, he's been an answer for quite a few people, actually, especially people in the game. He has been. Yeah, he's a bit of a player, weren't he? And the final one of these ones, best player you've seen live?
When you say live, are we talking like you've been to watch a game or seeing it on a training pitch or?
Oh, you could be either or. Yeah, if you've got one that you want to draft from your own experience.
I'm just trying to think. Probably Raul or something like that for Real Madrid back in the day.
What a talent he was.
Yeah, I'd probably say well, maybe even the real Ronaldo.
The real Ronaldo.
But yeah, everyone knows which
the
one.
The R9, the original, yeah.
So probably him actually when I look at it when he was at Real Madrid.
Yeah. Good call. Good call. Like some of the answers in there, brilliant stuff. So let's get into your career in the game. I want to go right back to the very beginning and go throughout your journey in football. Okay. So before...
how long we got?
That's all depends on you, mate. Prior to Wolves and Manchester United, kind of talk to me about what your enjoyment of football was like back at the time. What kind of level were you playing at before you were recognised? Because we've had numerous guests on here, and we've had some people who say that they just didn't enjoy football. They kind of fell into it, and we've had some that said that all they did was play football. So before the moves, before you were recognised, what was your footballing journey like?
I was that kid that just wanted to play football wherever I went.
Yeah.
So it was like my dad used to play a bit, and he kind of only like local levels, but he kind of, I'd go along with him to watch him play, hoping that they'd let me kick the ball around and kind of just be involved a little bit. I mean, when I was sort of 5 and 6, so I'd always go with my dad, and I was just football mad. Right. So when I first went to school, primary school, it was like, when can I play in the school team sort of thing. So I think I started playing for the school team when I was probably about 7 or 8 or something. So, and then after that was where it kind of, you like you say, you got started to get noticed a little bit more as a kid. You know, when you started playing for proper teams rather than just having a kick in the park with your dad or your mates and that.
Okay. So when you were first getting noticed, as you said, what kind of positions were you playing at the time?
I was always a midfield player.
Yeah.
I was always midfield. I was always midfield, but I tended, when I was a kid, I used to score a lot of goals. I don't know what happened but yeah, I was always a midfield player that used to score a lot of goals.
Okay.
You know, and that was probably what initially people catches people's eyes when, you know, it's, if you're scoring goals, it's doesn't matter what level you're playing at, you get talked about, don't
you? Definitely. Your kind of move to Wolves, then, how did that all come about? Because that was obviously the club you were at prior to Manchester United signing you up. So when were you kind of first aware the Wolves were interested in you? What kind of other clubs were kind of sniffing around at the time, or what was the process involved with that?
At the time, I think I was about 8.
8, wow.
Yeah, I was probably about 8, and I was just playing for the school team, and then I think somebody just phoned my dad or my mum and just said, you know, can you bring him down, sort of thing, and we want to have a chat. So it was, I think it was because my Sunday team was very good, and we had a lot of, it was renowned, like in this area, it was renowned for being a really good Sunday team.
Okay.
So you tended to get, all the kind of scouts tended to go and watch those teams because of obviously the reputation. Yeah. So yeah, it was just, I think it was just one of those games, and someone just spoke to my dad and said, bring him along. So I went, and then obviously I was there from when I was 8 till 14.
Okay. What's it like being in an academy setup at such a young age and going through those kind of youth levels? Because again, numerous people that we've been kind of speaking to, some found it really daunting and it almost kind of made them fall out of love with football, and others really flourished under it. What were you like back then?
I was probably quite lucky in a respect that this is going to probably, don't take this the wrong way, I was probably always one of the better players there. So you always felt comfortable in that environment.
Right.
So it was never, you know, it was always just, oh yeah, I'm going football, I'm going to go and play football. And it was, you know, I had some of my really good pals were in the same Wolves team.
Okay.
You know, like my best mate, he was in the same team. So we kind of grew up, went training together, so it was still very much a social thing for me.
Right.
You know, and I was still, I think at the time, till I was about 12, you were still able to go and play, you know, for your district, you could go and play for your school. And so you were still doing everything. All it was is you were associated with Wolves, and you play for Wolves probably on a Sunday morning, and probably go training once a week.
Right.
I think now, I think it's changed an awful lot that, you know, kids cannot play for school, they can't play with their mates, they can't, you know, which I don't 100% agree with. And I'll probably say, imagine the lads that you've had on that have said they fell out of love with probably football are probably the younger lads who have had to knock everything on the head from a really early age, which, you know, personally, I don't think it's the right thing. I think, yeah, they'll probably, you know, improve as players, but I think as people and as characters, I think it'll take a huge chunk of, you know, they're learning really in life skills more than anything, because you've just left in a bubble. So if, you know, if something doesn't go to plan, you know, how do you respond? How do you react to having a knockback? I mean, and that's where people probably kind of give up, or not give up, maybe not a bit strong, but kind of think I've had enough of football, because they've been in that bubble for so long. They need a bit of normality in their lives, you know, and then it's difficult once you're out of it to go and kick on and get properly back in it.
Yeah. So were you particularly bothered when the club then turned around and said you can't play the other games you were at the time? Because did you say it was at 12 that they kind of made it?
I think it was about, I was about 12. So it was like for the years when I was like 12 and 13,
right.
They said, look, you can't play for, you know, I used to still play for a school and no one really found out. So it was, you know, but now you can't, because they're probably going to school at the football club school. So, you know,
right.
So I think it became that I was more aware of, when I was sort of 12 or 30, it was more what I wanted to go and do. I decided I wanted to be a footballer. So it was like, well, I couldn't go and play on a Saturday for the district and then go and represent myself the best I can if I'd played Saturday and then I go and play Sunday. It was like, I knew kind of I had to make a decision what it was that I was going to go and do, and that was what my goal was. So I understood the reasons for it.
Definitely. Then at 14, the move to Manchester United comes about. Just talk to me about the kind of process with that. And at the time, obviously being a Manchester United fan, that must have been an amazing feeling. When did you first become aware of the interest? How is that kind of done at that age? Because obviously now there are certain rules and stuff that clubs have to kind of abide by. But back then, when were you aware of it, and what was the process like?
It was to be honest, obviously, like I said, from when I was 8 till 14, I was season ticket holder at United.
Yeah.
So, when kind of, I think it was coming from district games, my dad had kind of always spoken to the kind of scout. He was always talking to my dad, so that I knew that he was kind of keen to get me up there. And then obviously when I got to 14, it was because you sign, well, back then you used to sign like a 2-year schoolboy form from 14 till you left school.
Yeah.
So that was where I had to make the decision. Look, if I wanted to go and be kind of a pro at United, it was probably going to have to be there where I decided, look, I've got to go and give it 2 years and then see what happens when I leave school.
Sure.
So that was why, so they invited me up for a couple of weekends. In the middle of the 2 weekends, I remember on the first weekend, I said, look, we've got the youth team, we've got a game at Old Trafford on the, so obviously I'm 15, what was I, 13, 14, got a chance to go and play at Old Trafford. And it was like, wow. So obviously I'm on the pitch looking at where my seat is in the stands. Me and my dad are on, my dad and my mum are at the side of the pitch, and you've got, at the time, I think you've got Brian Kidd, people like that there.
Wow.
And it was just like, so straight away you felt, it was like, wow, okay, where's the pen? That was the decision. It was just a case of, okay, I'm coming.
Definitely.
So
at that point when you're then signing for the club, what kind of conversations are they having with you about your development? Is it just a case of, let's just play you as many times as you want? I'm curious at that age, what kind of things do they say to you about where they ideally see you going, or do those kind of conversations not really happen?
They don't really say too much, because at that point it was probably the first time what you mentioned about Pete, when you kind of feel a little bit like intimidated in a way, because when I first went up there, was up to that point, with the first time I'd thought, wow, I don't know if I'm good enough, because there was some players and I was like,
really?
Yeah, there was one lad who called Callum Mooney. He's like West Ham's, I think he's West Ham's academy. I spoke to him the other week. West Ham academy manager, or like oversees the academy.
Okay.
And he was the best player I've ever seen at that age. So every club in the country wanted him. Do you mean? And I'd seen him at a few, because I'd gone for like where clubs wanted to sign me. So I'd gone for like a meal on match days and, met people. And, so I'd seen him at a few of the clubs that I'd been to.
Right.
But having seen him play, I was like, wow. And I remember saying to my dad, like, wow, how good he's at the level, because I didn't feel that I was that good.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? But then, so it was kind of, you have a little bit of self-doubt. So then that, in a way, like made me really knuckle down. And then kind of, I think I probably then slowly kind of caught up and got to the level. I mean, obviously playing with better players, you tend to adapt, quickly. So it was just that really, just kind of seeing how you do, and then just let you get on with it. I mean, obviously give you the coaching's there, but it's a case of a little bit sink or swim. I mean, it was, I remember my first session, one of our first sessions at the Cliff, and we've got Eric Harrison taking the sessions, and he's obviously got such an amazing reputation as a coach. But the one thing that sticks in my mind was I kind of went to block a shot and I turned my back, and it was the first time I know he ripped me a new one. It was the first time anyone had ever like shouted at me. Really? When it was on the football pitch, yeah. And it, to this day, some people talk about obviously all technical aspects of coaching and and things, but it's still needed sometimes, and obviously it worked for someone of his caliber. So it's, you know, there's times where I think things have got to be said, but it's how you do it. But I'll never forget that. It was more than first session, and he just ripped me one.
How
and
did
I
you
never turn my back on a ball again.
how did you react to that at the time, having gone from, you know, as you said, being one of the best players in the Wolves academy to signing for United? You're in one of your first training sessions and something like that happens. Is it a bit of a culture shock?
No, massively, because you were so used to sort of, you know, everybody kind of blowing smoke, really, in a way.
Right.
So it was a bit of a shock, but like I say, you've got two choices. You can either cry about it, or you can knuckle down and kind of try and achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
You know, and I think when you're young, I think it's easy to get down about it if you've kind of lived in that bubble where you're so used to it.
Yeah.
But I've got, you know, good people around me, family wise, so it was the right thing for me, really.
Yeah, definitely. Now, obviously, you stayed at United until I think it was 19, if both my research is correct on this one. So, do you remember the first time then, as you're going through the years, that a pro contract is offered to you in terms of, you know, going on to the next level rather than it being like don't know if it was YTS or whatever it was back then.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time that they offered you a deal?
Yeah, well, my deal was already done, because at the time I was like under 16. I was under 16, so I was, you know, playing for England and kind of, you know, doing well. You know, obviously playing pretty much every squad. You know, you'd be in the team for the England team. I was playing a year above myself.
Right.
For United. So everything was going nicely. So obviously at that time, you know, they came to me and offered me a contract. It was like the way it worked, you couldn't sign pro to your 17th birthday.
Okay.
So my kind of contract was a 3-year deal, and it was like 6 months, like YT.
Right.
And then on my 17th birthday, which was as we started in the July, my birthday was the January. So on my birthday, I signed my contract. So it was like 2.5 years pro.
So that moment, signing the first contract, how did you feel at the time? What, you know, and then again, do the club have any conversations with you about where they're then looking to take you in your career, etc.?
I think to be honest, I think they expected more than I gave them.
Okay.
You know, based on the conversation, I think they felt that I'd, you know, well, the conversations were that you've got a chance of getting in the first team. Obviously, when you look back now and you look at some of the players that were there at the time, you're thinking, well, that was never going to happen, was it? You know, now, but that was the conversations then. Do you know what I mean? But if I'm honest, I think my first year I did well, and then the summer of between my first and second years, I took my foot off the gas big time. I got influenced by kind of other people that I knew kind of in and around football, older kind of pros, which were still very much old school. You know, when they say, oh, no, pre-season, you know, have a rest. Your body needs a rest. You know, your pre-season is to get you fit. So during that, obviously, summer, I didn't really do a lot,
right?
Like in terms of fitness work. And it was my biggest regret, because whereas I was doing well in my first year, so far ahead of other people in my team and ahead of the people below me, because that second year when I went back, I was not as fit as I should have been.
Yeah.
I'd got, obviously, the lads that I'd kind of below me were pushed, then coming closer to me. I've got lads who were in my team overtaking me. So I kind of, you know, that's my biggest regret in football, in terms of, massively, because, you know, I know it's a bit old school and I'll still stick by it now, but if you can't run, then you can't play.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no excuses. There's no excuses not to be able to run about. And I'm not saying I've never been a player who's going to go running around like an idiot, but I can run. And that's, you know, and that first year I let myself go. And I think because it's a big year at United, because it's the Youth Cup year. So, you know, there's a lot of eyes on the under 18s.
Yeah.
You know, obviously Fergie knew everybody anyway, but, you know, he's suddenly starting to watch people very closely in that second year. And because I think I started the season average, then I got an injury. I think that, again, probably due to me not being fit enough.
Right.
You know, it was a very staggered year. And then like I say, and people soon catch you up. The year below was really strong. So I think that's what happened. And I think by the end of that under-18 season, to a degree, the decisions had already been made.
Right.
Although I was still, like I say, I was still playing international football, so you still think you're doing well. But when I look back now, knowing what I know now, I think that was what probably, cost me a little bit.
Yeah. So is anybody at the club at the time kind of putting their arm around you, kind of telling you what you should or shouldn't be doing, or do you feel like you were kind of left to your own devices in that respect in terms of that second year?
You've got a programme, obviously, in the summer to keep to. You know what I mean? But I was young. I was a kid, and I think I got caught up into having a good summer. If I'm honest, I think because I'd worked so hard for so many years to get there, you kind of, I think, took my foot off the gas. So I think I thought I'd arrived. Which is the worst thing you can do in football, because the second you take your foot off the gas, someone comes and takes your spot.
Yeah.
And and then it's difficult. It's difficult to get it back.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably not the only reason, but I think it was a big factor in me not maybe getting another deal out of it. Because I think when I got pulled into the office, and I think I expected to get a deal because of everything else that was going on and things that I was doing, and and I think everybody thought that I was going to get a deal. So I think I was kind of a shock. But I look back now and think if I'd have just done what now is, I'd do things very differently in terms of the work ethic.
Yeah. So who was it that had the conversation with you about your contract then not being
Sir Alex?
It was him.
Yeah, he did everything. When everyone talks about him and says he knows every player, he knows every staff member, he knows the kitchen lady, he's got highly involved in everything, then it's all true. I mean, he's the one that, pulls you in the office and says, I need to have a chat. He doesn't hide behind the youth team manager to get him to do it. It's, and it was all positive. It was very much, he felt that I probably wasn't going to make it in his team, but I'd still have a career in football, so, and it's to a degree, I suppose, what happened. You can't argue with someone like him, can you?
Yeah. I mean, at the time, and this is probably going to sound like a really daft question, but when you come out of that meeting, your initial thoughts and feelings, how tough is that to kind of process that the club that you supported since you were a kid, you've been in there, you've set up, you've been going through the years, and then all of a sudden, contract's not being renewed. How are you kind of processing that information?
Obviously, I was down. I was a bit flat, but when I thought about it, I think I thought, because that was in the January time. He told it, because they're always pretty good. They tell you in the January, so you've got a few months where you can obviously go. You need to go on trial teams, or you can get people speaking to clubs, and then so Walsall rang me sort of pretty much straight away.
Really?
Yeah. So obviously we've been moving. It was a chance to go back home, and then obviously then I thought, I'm better off going now. So I left United in probably, I think it was the January, February time, before the season left. So United were good as gold, paid my contract up, and then I went and signed for Walsall, because I knew that if I hung around and waited till the summer, then I might miss the boat. Yeah. It was, so I wanted to go and just get in with them. I think I realised that I needed to go and play with blokes, basically.
Right.
I needed to toughen up, because academy football is
can only take you so far, can't it?
Yeah. You can get to under 23 level, but then when you got to go and try and mix it with blokes who are trying to they've been doing it for years, and it's totally different. It's a different game, and it's a different mentality when you're going out to win things for to put bread on your table for your family, for your bonuses and things like that. It's a little bit more than the manager or the coach at academy games saying, but we played really well, lads, take the positives. Because it's irrelevant. It's you've got to go out and win a game of football and not play well. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And I think that's where that flip has to change.
Yeah.
So I knew I needed to get in with, the big boys base. And I remember my first few sessions with Walsall, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a shock. And I knew I had to toughen up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got, in that team, you've got some kind of proper old pros, who've been around the game a long time.
Yeah.
And to be fair, they were brilliant with me because they knew that I was obviously a good footballer because of where I come from. But
Yeah.
I had to develop that part of my game probably very quickly. And that's why I've always said, if I had my time again at United as a 17-year-old, I'd have asked and I'd have gone and trained at know it again, know not what I know now. I'd have gone and trained at like Ashton or, someone like that. I'd just gone and trained just to toughen me up.
I mean,
but if there's someone that said to me at the time, Kris, you're going to go on loan to Ashton United, or I'd have probably turned my nose up at it because it was so much lower than where I was. But like I said, it's just a different thought process that goes on now to what would have done then.
I was literally just about to ask you, looking back, do you think a loan move would have benefited you back then? Because
100%.
I remember I had exactly the same conversation with Jamie Kiriton, and when I was talking to him, and he wasn't getting the first team opportunities at Norwich, a loan move presented itself, and he instantly just dismissed it. Said no, not doing it. I want to stick here. But he said, looking back, he wishes that he had, because if he'd gone out and experienced other parts of the game, it might have made him grow up a little bit quicker. So, interesting to hear you say the same thing. So, as you said, the move to Walsall then happens. It was obviously back in 2002 when you moved, Walsall were a first division team. So they were
championship at the time. Yeah, so it seemed like a bit of a no-brainer. I mean, obviously, going from United, which is, some might say, well, why didn't you go to somewhere lower in the Premier League? But I knew I wouldn't go and play, and I knew I had more of a chance of getting in the first team probably at Walsall quicker than I would if I'd have gone to a Premier League team. So I didn't really give it time to see if I could go to another Premier League team. If I was honest, I kind of just, when Walsall rang me, I was like, "Yeah, come on, I'm going. I'm going to go. I'm going to go and play. I'm going to go and earn my corn, basically, and kind of get that, kind of go and play with blokes, go and kind of try and establish myself as a first team player, and then if I can kick on from there, then so be it. I mean, but I just wanted to play, and I wanted to get involved in playing proper football rather than academy tappy rubbish.
Yeah, and obviously at the time, I believe Colin Lee was the manager of Walsall.
Yeah.
Did you have, again, the kind of conversations when you are signing in a deal and joining the club, in terms of your own development? Again, are they kind of just like sticking you straight in amongst the first team in terms of training sessions, or?
I trained all the time with the first team. Colin Lee made that clear. He said, "Look, I want you here." He says, "But in all honesty, he said, I don't want you here to play for me this year." He says, "Because you're not ready." He says, "You're not ready." And it took me, I think as I signed I think I made my debut like the following January. So it was probably 11, 12 months, maybe just 10 months, something like that, before I actually played a game for the first team. I've been in it. I was always, like I say, always trained with them, travelled regular, been on the bench, but never played. So, because I don't think I was ready for that step up, because physically I wasn't ready, I don't think. And I don't think I was mentally, looking back now. But Colin Lee was brilliant. He was, he was kind of, I think he knew, because he was an experienced manager, he knew how to handle, a young player that had come from what I'd come from to come in to Walsall. You know what I mean? So I was just disappointed that when he left, to be honest, for my own personal development.
Yeah. So, I mean, that dressing room in itself, I'm just looking at some of the names, and there are some amazing names in there. Ian Roper, Danny Rack, Matt Carbon, just listing a few. You had Carl Robinson in there. Danny Sonner. Oh, what a name. Jesus, there's some great...
Marathoner, he was.
There's some great names in amongst that team.
You probably got Martin O'Connor was probably in that team. Fitzroy Simpson. Jimmy Walker. Who else? I'm just thinking who else is in that team.
Vinny
Samways was the following season. I think he joined Merson kind of following season.
Yeah. So during that first season, then when you are starting to get into the, you're obviously chucked in straight into the training sessions. How did you find that first half of, the second half of that season? Then being in amongst that group, what did you kind of learn about yourself moving forward into the next one?
Yeah, just that I needed to toughen up. It was like people say, it was a man's game. Even in training, it was proper. It was people were tackling. It wasn't kind of touch football, if you like. It was
right.
There was proper tackles, challenges going in. People wanted to win, even in training. It was that mentality. It changed, and I think I was always a very good technical player, but you had to go and snot a little bit as well. And I think that was the biggest kind of learning curve for me. And coming from what you come from, you got United, you got the best training facilities, you got the best pitches, you got the best football, your kit's ready, you got your dinner, you got everything, and then all of a sudden you go down. That was another shock. It was you had to do more for yourself. You had to make do almost in a way. What if you didn't like what was for lunch upstairs, then you were hungry. So it was just kind of getting out of that, getting pampered kind of attitude a little bit to
right.
Well, you ain't at Man United now. It's kind of, just suck it up, man up about it, and try and get on with it.
Yeah.
If you don't want to cook, if you don't want to be here, then don't come.
Yeah. So the following season, then obviously from a club's perspective, it's they end up getting relegated from the old First Division. For you personally, though, obviously this is the season where you made your debut.
Yeah.
Talk me about that first game. What was it like finally making your first team debut?
I think the week before on the Tuesday, I think we got absolutely slapped off Coventry. I think it was like 5-0 or something ridiculous like that.
Right.
And I was on the bench and he was going to put me on, Colin Lee, and he pulled me. He sort of said to me after he went, look, he said, I was going to put you on. He said, but then I thought, I ain't going to give you your debut in that game, which was game over. You couldn't affect it. He said, I didn't want to do it to you. And then we played Stoke. And then he pulled me on the Friday. I think it was a Friday and said, you're playing tomorrow. Get yourself ready.
Wow.
So it was, you were just obviously excited to go and make your debut. I mean, obviously, it becomes real for you. I mean, especially at Stoke, it's a big club. It's big stadium. So it was great. But like I said before, the people within that team, were brilliant. Like Vinny Samway played a midfielder with. He was brilliant. As a kind of young kid, to have somebody with his experience and his know-how and his quality, and even I think he was probably clocking on at that point. He was brilliant. He just said, you said to Kris, go and run around for me. So I used to just run around for him. He'd just tell me where to run, basically. It was easy. He didn't have to think. So, obviously when I scored as well, which kind of made it even nicer debut. I know we got beat, but it was just a great day really for myself to feel that all the work you'd kind of done, you'd not achieved what you wanted to, because I suppose as a kid you want to achieve to go and play for Man United, but it was still making a Football League appearance at a good level, and and I felt that was a stepping stone for me to kick on and kind of go and achieve more, if I'm honest.
Yeah. After the game, then you've scored. You personally have had you've had a good game. Is much said to you, because obviously after the back of you're coming off a defeat. Can there be too much praise for you, or is that kind of thing reserved for like the following week in training, where Colin actually says to you one-on-one about your performance?
No, I remember because I went off. I probably lasted about 65, 70 minutes, something like that. I think off the top of my head, you probably got it there. And I remember kind of coming off, and he was like, "Well done," even though he was just like, "Well done." You're just tired, which is understandable because it was your first game. He said so. So he was pleased. He said, "I was pleased with it, pleased with your performance." And obviously, the next week, I can't remember if I played the next game. If I'm honest. I can't remember. But I felt very much part of it after that point with Colin Lee, because I'd play a couple of games, and then he'd pull me out, and then he'd say, look, I need to just do this, this, and this, and then I'd come on in games, and then I'd start the next one. So I felt like my progression was very kind of purposeful, if you like, where it almost got a direct approach of a kind of a strategy to make me a better player.
Yeah.
In the way he handled it, and so I thought he was great, and I was just disappointed he left, to be honest.
Yeah. What was the mood like amongst the group when he left? Because obviously we know that Paul Merson came in after that. I believe his first game actually was against Norwich. Being a Norwich fan, I remember that day vividly because we were flying high at the time.
Did you remember my sitter then? I missed.
Quite, I don't know. I'd have to look back at it.
We were getting beat 5-0 at the time. But I just remember a cross coming across, and I just didn't connect with it at all. I should have scored. It just kind of, I don't know. It just looped in the air and went in the goalie's arms. But I should have scored. I should have buried it. But no, it was really strange because nobody expected it, because all week we'd worked on, obviously, kind of, it sounds stupid, keeping the score down, because we knew we weren't going to go there and win. Well, not go there and win, sorry. Not go there and kind of smash Norwich up, because at the time they were absolutely destroying teams. You've got Darren Huckabee on fire. He's scoring stupid amounts of goals every week. So Colin Lee knew that if we could go there and get a draw or sneak something or even lose 1-0, it wouldn't be the end of the world, because he knew that the way the league looked, it was going to be so tight that it was probably going to go down to goal difference. Right. So we'd worked on all week. We'd worked on obviously keeping our shape, staying compact. I think we just got someone doing like a man-to-man on Huckabee, just to try and keep him as quiet as possible. And then Colin Lee on the Thursday afternoon, I think it was, he kind of came and said, "Look, lads, I'm done. I'm going." And everyone was like, "What?" So then Friday we came in, and Merce came in and said, "Look, I'll be taking the team." And we were like, "Okay, sounds." So you're thinking, bloody hell, Paul Merson, he was an absolute legend as a player. He was even at that point, brilliant. Was a bloke, brilliant. In a dressing room and everything like that. And you think, "Oh, great, we've got Paul Merson manager." And then the first thing he said was, "Lads, everything we've done all week," he said, "He's out the window." He said, "We're going to go for it." Bearing in mind, we're playing Norwich away from home. We're at the bottom there, flying at the top, and we're all looking at each other thinking, okay. He went, "If we get down on goal difference, then so be it." And then we got slapped 5-0, and then we wwent down on one goal.
Yes, I was just about to say.
So you look at that and you think, you're like, "Oh, blooming heck!" But I think it was just, I think it was just the way Merce was. He'd always go for it, and that's probably how he generally has been. But you can't knock him, because as a player and, like I say, as a person, he was top draw. So
yeah, you may not be able to answer this question, but how do you think that the dressing room reacted going from Colin to Paul? And do you think that kind of played any factor in the fact that the club went down? Because you've got potentially two completely different styles of football.
Yeah, I think with the players we've got, I don't necessarily think it changed in a way of, the mentality was still the same, because you've got some real experienced pros in that team, you know what I mean? And I think they knew how to go and win games. It was just, obviously Colin Lee was a massively experienced manager who'd seen it and done it before. So I think his ideas were probably more strategic than Merce saw, but these things happen, and I think we've all made mistakes, and I think if you speak to Merce now, he'll say that management didn't really see eye to eye with.
So obviously he stays on the following season. For you personally, I know that you had a loan spell away during that season. Kind of where, obviously with the club going down into the next division, are you then personally expecting to then kind of kick on with your career, because you're then starting to establish yourself, you're getting a few games under your belt, or
definitely.
Are you still feeling the same maybe as the previous season. I don't know.
Nah, probably like exactly like you said. To be honest, because I was, I think I played about 15 games or something like that in that championship season. So
Yeah.
you think, right, we've been relegated. I'm probably going to get a lot more football. So, in a selfish point of view, I suppose when you kind of assess it, you thought, well, it might be a blessing in disguise. Obviously, not for the football club. I mean, I
No,
wouldn't
of
wish that
course.
on anyone. And naturally, as a player, you want to be playing at the best level possible that you can. But so that season, I think I started the first few games, and I was doing all right. And then I got an injury,
Right.
and then I was out for a couple of months. I got a thigh injury, so it was a case of I needed to go and get some games. And I remember playing a reserve game, but again, like I said about academy games, reserve games, they're not at the same intensity that proper games are. And I knew that I weren't ready to go and play in Walsall's team because I wasn't match fit really. And at the time, I think I played a reserve game, did well, and I think Nigel Clough was watching, and he said to me like, "Can you come down?" I was like, "Yes." And so I went. I remember going, I trained, and I was going to sign all the forms, and then my injury, I broke down again with the same injury. So it was like that was put on hold. But then obviously as soon as I was fit, I went. I was only there I think I was there for about 6 weeks, or a month. I probably wasn't even there for that long because I did all right. I remember.
All right, you had a very good spell. With 3 goals in 5 games. That's incredible form.
It was 4. It was 4 in 6 actually. If you
well,
want to
there you
really,
go. Then there you go.
Nah, and I think 1 or 2 clubs had put in a few. There was a couple of bids came in for me and things, and then Merson rejected them, called me back, and gave me a new 2-year deal. So it was like, okay, sound. So, and then I went straight. I remember he called me back, and I started the next game. And I started the next few, and then kind of, I think at the end of the season, I can't remember. I played quite a few games throughout the year, and then the following year, I went back to Burton. So again, started the season well. Had an injury that I should have had the operation earlier. I got an injury on my heel where kind of the bony spur at the back of your heel was kind of jabbing in my Achilles. Yeah, exactly, and it was stupidly painful. So I cut a hole in my boot so I could try and play through it. But I should have just had the operation. But I was trying to be a bit of a hero, which was stupid. So again, I wasn't training properly. And it was like I weren't fit enough to play really. And then obviously Nigel Clough noticed that I weren't playing. He was like, do you want to come back on loan? So, because I enjoyed it and because had such a good spell last time, I thought, I'm going again. So, Merson said fine because it's pointless for playing reserve football because, he wasn't the greatest. So I went again that year, but I didn't hit the same heights as the year before. But like I say, it was because I wasn't fit enough because I needed surgery.
Yeah.
So obviously as soon as that season finished, I went for the operation, and it was stupidly, it took about 4 weeks before I was back doing what I wanted to do. So I should have, again, hindsight, you look and you say, should have done what, what was best for me rather than trying to be a hero.
Yeah. So after that second spell at Burton on loan, Walsall end up getting relegated again, this time down into what is now League Two. Yeah. Again, for you personally, obviously you've just signed this contract, you've had a couple of loan spells recovering from this injury. Is this then your opportunity where you think, right, now is my time potentially to kick on, or what are you kind of feeling like during that summer?
Well, during the season before that, obviously, I think Merson left with probably about January time, but because of the agreement I'd signed at Burton, or I think I signed the agreement in the January at Burton, and it was till the end of the season. And then I think he left then at the end of January, something like that. And then I wasn't able to come back. So then we had a couple of managers went in, kind of even before Richard Money that season. But because of the agreement, they couldn't call me back. So what the clubs had agreed was I'd still go and train. So I used to go and train at Walsall, and then obviously go and play for Burton. And then I think Richard Money came in at the end of the season, because I got a year left on my contract. I spoke to him at the end of the season. He said, "Look," he said, I haven't obviously seen much of you."
Yeah.
He said, "I know you've done well in the past." And he said, "So, as far as I'm concerned, you're part of the squad for next season." So,
Right.
you kind of, you think, great, let's go. And you could see when he come in how he worked. He was so organised. He was so kind of, everything was so kind of methodical about what he did, and his ideas were he just kept it so simple in a way.
Right.
So as soon as he come in, you could see that we were going to be so organised and so difficult to play against that you thought, we've got a chance straight away. It was like, we're not going to concede goals. And we'd worked a lot on set pieces, and we had some, we were strong on set pieces, and you could see that straight away. I think the first 10 games that following season, I don't think we conceded a goal. It was crazy. I think we went the first 10 home games or something ridiculous like that, where we didn't concede one goal.
Wow.
I remember the first goal that we did concede, the keeper threw it in. We should have saved it 100%. So yeah, we started very well.
Yeah. The club obviously end up getting promoted that season.
Yeah.
Complete, obviously, contrast to the season before. You mentioned about some of the changes tactically that happened. How did you kind of adjust to that in terms of your own personal game? Do you feel that season kind of helped you throughout your career, rather than being a bit just? Do you know what I mean?
I think I kind of established myself, because that year that we won the league, I played 40-something games.
Yeah.
So, you play 40-something games in a team that wins a title, you kind of get respected a little bit more, to say, look, hang on a minute, he's only played 15 games one year, 20 games the following year, but he's played 40 and we would have won a league. So, you kind of come off the season, great, you've won a league, and I moved to left back for that season. So, you expect probably majority of the squad to stay together and give it a crack in League One. But as it happened, I think everybody that was out of contract left. There was, I think, 2 had already agreed to sign for somebody else. And then there was, I think, 5 of us were out of contract. And he released all 5 of us. So we were all...
How do you process that? You've finally established yourself. You're part of a team that's just got promotion, and then you're told your services are no longer required.
Yeah, well, it was really funny, really strange, because obviously the club paid for us all. We all went away together. All the lads went we all went to Napa together. So we'd literally just got back. It was like the day after. We all had meetings at the club. So we're still, we're still high off the trip. You still, lads are probably still drunk, if I'm honest. So we've gone in the office, and literally every one of us has come out, gone, and we'd all played 40 plus games. So we're all looking, when we're away, we're all going, yeah, but there's at least going to be a year on the table, one of those things, out of kind of a reward almost for what you've done. But then literally everybody had the same conversation to pretty much. It was very much, look, I'm really sorry, lads, but my budget's cut. Obviously, I know it's easy for managers to lean on the budget thing. Yeah. And then you don't know how true that is, but it's, my budget's being cut, and I've got to try and bring cheaper players in and blah, blah, blah. And you're thinking, well, it weren't like you're on 5-6 grand a week, so it was all a little bit kind of unsure of what was going on. But you felt a little bit uneasy about it, because of, obviously, and I think, to be honest, I think Richard Money did, because you can see it in his face when he's telling you, almost a little bit embarrassed that he's kind of telling you, he's saying, thanks for everything you've done for me as a manager and for the team and the club, but I can't keep you next year. So obviously the ins and outs of it you'll never know. But so I left there for the next move.
Yeah. So during that summer, then, when you obviously we know now that you end up going to Hereford.
Yeah.
I suppose really my kind of question is, what level are you expecting to then be playing at? Are you then ideally looking for a League One team to be coming in for you, or at that point are you just thinking, right, if I can just establish myself at League Two again? What what kind of offers were around at the time as well?
I think that, obviously, like you say, I've got a few offers from like down south and things, and I was thinking, obviously do I want to go down there? At this point in my life, I was thinking, maybe not. And I knew that Hereford had tried to sign me a couple of times
Right.
when I was at Burton. Obviously, Hereford at the time were in the conference with Burton. They'd gone up into League Two, so it was like, and Graham Turner was established as a manager. I mean, there's someone who's experienced, so I felt it would be a good move for me because I knew I weren't still. I don't think I was probably the player that I should have been at that point.
Right.
It sounds stupid. So I thought, a proper manager that can help me and develop me and see what happens beyond that. So, so I thought, Hereford's, I went and met them. They said all the right things, and I felt it worked. It felt right for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was, I enjoyed every minute of it, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I was just going to say, because we had Simon Johnson on a couple of
weeks.
weeks.
I know Jono. Yeah.
Obviously, he joined in the same time as you. What was he like to play with? Because from just listening to him for a couple of hours, he's such a character.
Yeah, but I still speak to Jono now. So me and Jono probably, before we went to Hereford together, we knew each other from, obviously we're both kind of Birmingham based, but obviously I was at United, he was at Leeds, he was a year older than me. So from an early age, we've kicked each other basically. Because as a kid, I used to play centre half. Obviously, he was a striker.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of tussles over the years. So naturally, as soon as he walked into Hereford, it was just like we knew each other, and there was that mutual respect because Jono was unreal as a player. He was, as a kid, again, someone who probably he looks back on it now and he underachieved. Do you know what I mean? In my opinion.
He said something very similar, to be honest.
So he was quality, and you could see that when he used to train and things like that and play in games. It was kind of on a time you'd watch him and he'd just be on a different page. And it was going to sound stupid. He was probably playing too low for his brain because he was mentally, he was probably ahead too far ahead of certain people.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd be doing things and he'd look and be like, oh, it didn't happen. But you'd appreciate. I used to watch him sometimes and appreciate what he was doing.
Yeah.
So it ended up that I used to travel in with Jono because he was obviously Birmingham. I moved to Worcester, so we got a little car school in Worcester that we used to meet. Jono would get there when he wanted. That's why I think I mentioned before about him being late every day. We got to a point we used to tell him if we were meeting at 9, we'd tell him we were meeting at 8:45 just to hope that he was there at 9. So it was just a hope. Never did happen.
No, I've got a mate. He's exactly the same.
So, but yeah, he's a proper good lad, Jono.
Yeah, definitely. So, as you mentioned, that first season for the club, fantastic time. They get promoted. Again, you then got another promotion under your belt.
Yeah.
2 successive seasons now with promotions. First of all, what do you think it was about that particular squad that got you promoted? And what was Graham like? Obviously, having the initial conversations with him, what was he like to work under?
He was brilliant. He was like I said, he was probably very old school. He was very shrewd in what he did. Obviously, at the time, he was chairman, manager, the kit man, cook. He was everything. I mean, when you're seeing him doing everything, it brought togetherness between like the management, like the staff. There was like 3 staff members, obviously within the kind of club training wise. One of them was obviously the chairman, so sometimes he wouldn't be involved. So he got 2 staff. So everyone was just mucking in, and he brought this like real togetherness and within the group.
Yeah.
He made some great signings with some loan players from different teams. I think he signed 3 lads from Watford who were great, like Tumini, Diguara, Lion Lanesworth, and Theo Robinson, who were great for us. Then he bought Gary Hooper in, Serge McDonald, who were, again, like I say, they were really top draw for us. But it was just that togetherness I think we had, and we built a kind of a very good spirit within the group. Because at the start of the season, we've got about 4 players in pre-season. I think everybody was tipping us to get relegated. And even, as a player, you come in and you turn up and you think, bloody hell, we're in trouble here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then, like I say, the group's knitted together great, and and then we just went on a roll really, and obviously ended up, I think, a surprise package, and then ended up getting promoted.
Yeah. Why do you think things didn't work the following season in League One? Because to go from that togetherness and that promotion season, it just didn't seem to click in the division above. What can you kind of put your finger on it, looking back on it now?
Well, naturally, the lads that we brought in on loan, we didn't keep. Or right. I think Lionel got a move, and then I think Theo didn't come back. Toombs, I don't think Toombs come back. I can't remember. So you'd lost a few kind of better players,
right?
And then I think because Graham Turner was still the chairman, he was very cautious in terms of, naturally going to League One, you probably need a little bit more money to, entice certain players in. And I don't think he wanted to do that. So probably in League One, our squad as a whole wasn't as good as our squad in League Two. So naturally, straight away, you're not going to be probably as competitive. I mean, we were competitive in most games, if I'm honest. No one really slapped us. I think we missed a lot of chances that year. Nothing seems to go right for us. But when you look at it now, you say that if we'd have kept the squad that we had in League Two, then we'd have been fine. It was just that he wasn't as strong. Yeah,
definitely. You then, obviously, the time at Hereford comes to an end. You decide to move on. What, for your own personal career, was it? Do you think it was the right time to leave them, or do you what prompted that decision that you didn't want to stay on longer than that?
It was the fact that at the time, I think there was a few things getting said, obviously, in terms at the club. You're speaking to lots of different players, and players, you were hearing what players were being offered, right, contracts-wise, that were coming in, that were going to be joining the club. And then at the same time, the contract offer I was offered was less than I was on the previous year in League Two. Although I'd
really,
so it didn't sit right in a way. It was like, one knew what was being said to me was totally different than what the actual thing was happening at the club. Because naturally, like I say, what other players that I knew, were getting offered. So it was more of a, this is, just didn't feel right. So I think that's where I went to Port Vale.
So during that summer then, again, you mentioned Port Vale is the next move. Offers that were on the table, were they kind of like the main one that kind of stood out to you?
Yeah, it wasn't really. There was a few offers, but it was offers that didn't really make me say, oh yeah, 100%. I think if you don't think that going somewhere, then I think you're always going to be on a bit of a downer. So at the time, it wasn't really an offer to go from Port Vale, but obviously, I didn't know Mickey Adams personally, but I knew of him. You knew what he was about as a manager, and you kind of wanted to go and play for him, even before I went. And then when I went pre-season, literally, I think I played one game for him in pre-season, and Mickey Adams was like, you're staying here, sort of thing. But I can't really, I haven't got much money, so I had to kind of bite the bullet a little bit, and I had to kind of, it was an all right deal, but it was very much a short-term deal until he could get I think he was trying to get a couple of players out, just until he could offer me a longer-term contract.
Yeah.
So that was how that worked. I think that was for 3 months, and I think I lasted about a month, and he sorted out what he needed to sort, and then I think I signed an extension on that.
Because obviously the club were financially at the time, it was safe to say it was a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
So for you personally, when you are then being offered a short-term deal to then sign on for something longer. Are you kind of having any reservations about wanting to sign, or are you purely thinking from a football perspective, I've got a manager who has, after one game, has said, I'm signing you? Is that the main reason why you're then deciding to stick around?
Yeah, because I knew what had gone on within the club, and I knew what had been agreed within the club, like with obviously financially. So I knew the club was fine at that point. Like, it was just a case of that to kind of sort all their bits out until they could go and sign players. So I was like, well, sound, I'll just, obviously you run the risks if I'd have got injured in pre-season or something like that, then I'd have been in a different situation. But I felt fine. I felt good. I felt like I wanted to go and play for Mickey Adams at the time. So
yeah. So I have to talk about the incident where the whole club or whole playing staff is transfer listed. I can't not ask you what.
No, it was brilliant. Honestly, it was brilliant. We were crap. We were poor. We've been doing quite well, and then I think it's Notts County away, and we just didn't turn up. I mean, it was literally every player I think was well below par, and Mickey Adams' thing was always work ethic. I mean, we ran hard in training. Yeah, we worked hard. It was that type of mentality. Like, we'll run over teams. We might not be as good as them, but we know what, we'll run over them. And we just didn't turn up. We were just poor. So when obviously coming in the dressing room and he's going off on one, and he was like, and you're all this, you're all that, you all think you're brilliant, blah blah blah. He went, I'll see how good you are. He says, I'm going to put every one of you on the transfer list. And the lads are looking like, no, you won't. And he's like, so you're on the list, and then you got a kid, Joe Anyon, keeper. He'd been out with a broken leg for about nearly 2 years. He looked at him, he went, Joe, he went, welcome back. He went, you're on the fucking list as well. And we were all like, lads, like naughty school kids where their shoulders are, doing it, and we're all looking at each other like laughing, like kind of laughing inside. And it was like, it was such a comical moment. But I think after that, we went on a bit of a run. I think we just missed out on the playoffs in the end. Yeah. But it was an interesting team talk after the game.
Because obviously that gets headlines, doesn't it? At whatever level the national media decide to cover, that as a headline is something that, I mean, I remember reading about it at the time and thinking, what the hell's going on there? But as a squad, do you think that was kind of like just the kind of key in the ignition that you all needed just to get it all going again? Or
I don't think Mickey Adams, he was not really. I think he was a bit like that. He'd always do things like that to us, where we'd have a game on a Tuesday, say we got beat on a Saturday. He'd say, right, you're training Sunday morning, and we'd all turn up at training, and none of the staff would be in.
Right.
And then one of the lads would get a phone call. Like, an hour later saying, oh, lads, get yourself off then. So we all sat there for an hour and not done it. It's like just stuff like just do things just to piss people off. If people weren't putting a shift in, that was his biggest thing. If you go out and get beat, he hadn't got a problem with it, but it was just if people didn't work.
Yeah.
And that was, like I say, that was his kind of biggest gripe when it came to us as a group of players. But it was a good time where we had the fittest I've ever been, right? Because of the work we did, and that was again because I think then Mickey left, went Sheffield United, and you hear things that he didn't quite work out the same. But would those methods of like running players hard every day and kind of really kind of getting people to work, if you're on a 3 or 4 year contract and on 15 grand a week, which people at Sheffield United probably were, would they be looking going, hang on a minute, I ain't doing that. Yeah. Whereas we were, we were all just, playing League Two. It's just like, if the manager says go and run over there, you run over there. Yeah. You wouldn't really question it. Yeah. So he left the following season, if that's correct. So you finished just outside the playoffs in the first season. Yeah. You then signed a new contract, is that right? Yeah. So again, what persuaded you to stick with Port Vale
for the following season?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed, obviously, the club. I enjoyed working with Mickey Adams, although he was tough, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't mind someone shouting at me, and I didn't mind working, running hard. But it was, again, I think he left midway through that season. And then we had, a couple of people, I think. And then Jim Gannon came in. And then that was kind of another interesting one.
You say interesting. What makes it interesting? Because to have those kind of big changes. You've gone from having one manager for a whole season. He's there for the start of the second season, and then all of a sudden you've got 2 or 3 different names coming in at the same time for a squad. What is that like? Because I've yet to speak to someone where that has happened.
Yeah, it didn't go smoothly, if I'm honest. We were top of the league at the time, so you're looking and you're thinking, we're doing well here. We're gonna crack this, and we were flying. We were, nobody could touch us I think purely because of our fit we were at the time, and we were just running teams into the ground.
Yeah.
And then he came in and he said, "Look, lads, you're doing brilliant. I don't want to change much." And lads thinking, sound, it's going to be very similar. And then the Saturday came and it was change the system, change the way he wanted us to play, brought different personnel in. And I think then from straight away, it was like, no, this isn't going to work. And I think a lot of the lads didn't buy into it. And I think, I got on all right with him, like as a person and things. But I think it was just the route he went down with certain players was never going to work.
Right. Okay. End of that season then, you then decide to leave the club, I don't know, what happened at the end of that season? Were you not offered a new contract?
It was very messy because nobody knew what was happening. My contract was up. Obviously, Jim Gannon had left. I think Gruey and Jeff Horsfield had taken over as caretakers. Nobody knew who the next manager was. So it was like, what do? Everybody was out of contract, was in the same position. Do you hang about and hope that the new manager knows you and likes you and he's going to want you there the following year? Or do you look elsewhere? So, I think at the time, Darlington came in. I went up there with my family, met the chairman. Obviously, I knew the manager at the time anyway.
Yeah.
And I thought, this was great because, Darlington at the time, they were, the conference club, they'd just won the trophy. It was looking like they were going to be strong contenders to go up.
Right.
Look at the stadium, they're playing in the arena, massive stadium, brilliant stadium. It was, you thought, this could be very good. You're looking straight away, going up there thinking, I could have another promotion under my belt here.
Yeah.
Obviously at the time, the club, previous, there'd been a lot of issues with finances. So I sat in front of the chairman and asked the question, is everything okay with the club financially? Because, naturally I'm going to move my family up here. I got my little girl at the time. He sat there, I sat there with him and we said, no, everything's fine as long as I'm here. This club's going to be in the Football League and blah, 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 all that nonsense. And then, so you agreed to sign. And then 3 months later, 4 months later, something like that, he puts the club into administration.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what? And then, obviously then you're not getting paid. So it was a really, real tough time for obviously everybody who was involved in the club, like the fans, myself, other players. It was different.
Can I just touch on that? Because obviously that now is potentially an issue that is going to be affecting a lot of clubs in the next 6 to 12 months, however long this potentially lasts for, where we don't know where wages are going to be coming from. We don't know, it's easy to look at the Premier League and the Championship and think, well, those guys are going to be fine. They'll have their wages covered. But for a lot of clubs and a lot of players, this is now going to be very difficult. So how do you handle that situation, and how did you handle it at the time, and what kind of advice would you be giving to people who are in that situation now?
It's difficult because at the time there was me and a lad, Mark Bridge Wilkinson, you know, didn't receive a penny. I remember it was like, I think it was a November paycheck. We didn't receive a penny because probably we were the more experienced players, because maybe we were a little bit more vocal when things were getting discussed.
Right.
And, you know, so everyone else received a proportion of their wage. So it was very much like personal against obviously me and Bridgie.
Yeah.
Fair enough, we were probably two of the better earners within the group. So possibly that played a part as well. But we didn't receive a penny. So we kind of went and tried to fight it hard, and, you know, the PFA were involved, but there weren't a lot they could do because, you know, he was the guy putting all the money in. It wasn't that it was coming from anywhere else. I mean, the money was coming out of his pocket really, or kind of a roundabout way. He was sticking it as a sponsorship or however they get around it.
Right.
So that was the biggest disappointment of the whole situation. It was more the fact that, you know, I sat across the table to him and looked him in the eye and asked him a question.
Yeah.
So I felt betrayed, like that someone's, you know, had done it. Like almost, it was like it seemed very personal to me and Bridger. And like I say, when you've sat across with someone, it got me a little bit, and you know, so I did say a lot of things to him, and
understandably,
at the time, you know, so I know I'd never, you know, it's probably there was things said that maybe I shouldn't have done, but at the time I was just so frustrated with the situation, because he starts, you know, it's not a case of messing with football; it was messing with people's lives. You know what I mean? And that was the biggest frustration for me.
Now, I think, again, if I've kind of got this right, your contract, along with everybody else's, was terminated at one point. But
yeah, well, the way it worked, it was like I'd signed like a 2-year deal. But the way it worked is to enable the administrator to kind of get round certain elements of it. You basically had to kind of release yourself, but then reinstate. It was like I don't know how they did it, but the way they did it was we all had to agree to it. So, like I say, me and Bridgie were the ones that would go and meet the administrator and go through things. And, you know, I think the lads that stayed, I think the fans and everybody appreciated it. You know, I'd made the decision that I was moving my family up there, so I wasn't going anywhere for a year because I didn't want to sort of uproot after 3-4 months.
I was literally just about to ask you that. The moment that contract is up, is there any part of you that's thinking, right, now I need to look for my next move? Because
not really, unless something ridiculous had come, I wouldn't have gone, because we always felt because of the size of the club and everything you were hearing, it was always like, oh, somebody's coming in. There's someone in. So it always felt like it was going to happen. I didn't ever anticipate the end of the season coming and the club was going. Well, not going, obviously getting changed and dropping down so many leagues.
Yeah.
At the time, it was because there was always seemed like there was so much interest. But then when you hear that the previous chairman, he was blocking all the deals because the club owed him apparently so much money. So he was blocking all the deals unless his money was paid back. So it was very much, that was the other frustration. He'd rather the club see the club die and go under than just say, you know what, I ain't putting no more in. Give me a little bit less or whatever, or some sort of agreement within it, and then we'll go again. But instead, he'd rather, you know, he let the club obviously go into liquidation, I suppose, and did it. But, you know, so kind of me and Bridgie negotiated with the administrator, who, you know, to be fair, I mean, he was good at what he did. The fans were brilliant. You know, so we negotiated. So I think most of us were getting paid still about 2 or 3 years later. You know what I mean? So in the end, I suppose you got paid, but at the time it was very frustrating. But like I say, because I lived in Darlington, because I saw kind of pretty much daily what was happening and with the club and the way the supporters were, it was kind of, I felt I had to stay as a bit of loyalty to them rather than anything else. You know, and I think they respected me for that, if I'm honest. So when I went back there a few years later in non-league, it was like I got a great reception off all the fans. So
Yeah.
it kind of said, what, they did appreciate what, that I did stick it out and did my best for the football club. So it was tough, but these things happen.
Yeah. End of that season then, after a difficult season, both on and off the pitch. I suppose then the next move then comes about. Having dropped, it's still a good level of football to be playing at, National League level.
Yeah.
Having that season under your belt, did any part of you the things that you can then go back up into the Football League again? Because obviously you moved to Telford, which are in the same division. Sorry?
I'd had enough. I'd had enough of moving around.
Really?
At the time, yeah. I said to my wife, I'd got a few offers to stay, a year offer here, a year offer there, but it would have, obviously living in Darlington, it meant I'd have had to move again.
Right.
And then you go and live somewhere else for a year. What happens then? You go and move again. Like I said, I got my little girl, she was 2. And then you start thinking, what, before the next year or so, we're going to be talking schools, nurseries. So I said to my wife, look, I said, I've had a decent run. I'll play part-time. And, Telford are a big club, and they still are.
Yeah.
And it was, financially, it was a good deal I signed. But I just got to that point where I just thought, what, let's go home. I'll play part-time and I'll get a job. And that was what I did, if I'm honest.
Right. So do you think it was more off the field stuff that kind of made you think that, that way?
Oh, definitely.
The stuff that happened to Darlington the previous season, is that what, do you feel that contributed? Because physically, you could still play.
Yeah, well, I was just before I was 30, I think it was. So I was still, I was still fit. I was still able to go and play, but it was just, I'd had enough of living like year to year or year to year at a time. And I got to that point. I suppose with what happened at Darlington, I suppose I'd lost the love of football a little bit.
Right.
In terms of going and playing, just enjoying playing football, because there was so much hanging over your head all the time that you weren't able to just go and play football, and just go and enjoy playing and enjoy training. And, and I think that's why I decided to do, what I did really. Yeah.
And obviously for Telford, the season ends terribly, but how do you reflect on that year at the club? What was it like?
I didn't play that much. Well, I went there, so obviously signed for him, and I signed a good contract. It was, for the level of part-time football, it was decent. I didn't really play.
Right.
Again, it was probably going from full-time to part-time football, and then starting a job. It's a tough transition. I think it took me 6 months to get my head around it, because you're going from where you train every day and everyone's at it every day, and you kind of, there's that and then all of a sudden people have been at work, so people in training, I can't be arsed. I've had a long day. I've been up since 6 or whatever. And it took me a while to adjust into non-league. And I think with Telford, because of the finances they had, you were still training Monday night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, playing Saturdays, and you're working. It was like, figure out. I can't be doing this. I was, I'd moved kind of out of a full-time game so I could get things right, in terms of, like I say, I mentioned school and things like that for my little girl. But then since I went to Telford, I was never there.
Right.
So I didn't see her.
Yeah.
So it was, so like I say, I wasn't playing. And then I remember halfway through that season, someone I knew was involved at Hednesford, which is like the local club to where I live.
Yeah.
He phoned me, he said, look, come and play for us. So, I thought, I'll go on loan. So I just went on loan till the end of the season to Hednesford. And then that's where I started enjoying football again. And that's where I kind of got my love, if you like, for non-league. Really.
So going from that pro game, this is your week structure. The training sessions 5 days a week, playing on a Saturday. I don't want this to come across as a bit of a sort of condescending question or whatever, but then going back into the work environment of the regular job. If you don't mind me asking, what was it that you did What was your first job that you did?
Well, at the time, it was, I was studying. I was doing a degree.
Right.
So, I was doing that distance learning through the PFA. So I haven't got anything. So it was a case of what can you do? And like I mentioned before, I was on a good deal at Telford. So I thought initially I was a bit like, well, I'm all right. I don't need to work.
Okay.
But then after probably 2 months, 3 months, my head was ready to roll every day.
Right.
I mean, because I felt because you go from getting up in the morning and doing what you normally do, and then all of a sudden I found myself watching Jeremy Kyle in the morning. I weren't getting dressed, and you get a bit like, I'd had enough, and I was losing my head a little bit. Like, so I remember phoning my dad. My dad worked at the time. He's retired now, but worked at the time for Bid Food.
Okay, yeah.
I knew the transport manager as well. So my dad spoke to the guys there, and I was just like, Dad, just get me a job. I don't care what it is. I'll come and stack the shelves. I'll go and pick the rubbish up. I didn't care. I just wanted to get out of the house and have a purpose about my day, really.
Right.
And that's where the transport kind of guy said, look, going to do his every goods license, and we'll give him a job.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I went straight into that, really, for a couple of years until I finished my degree.
Yeah.
So that was how that worked. And even then, you think it was hard days, and people when I started, thought, here we go, footballer. He's not going to hack it because it's a tough job. The driving for Bid Food, because it's you're getting up at 5 every day. You got to go and unload a lorry, drive a lorry. And it was tough. So again, like initially, it's a bit of a massive shock to your system where you've gone from getting in the morning at 10 o'clock and being home probably for 1 o'clock and being at the golf course for 1:30. To suddenly up at 5 in a truck, and getting home at 4 or 5 o'clock. And it's a hard transition, but it's about looking after yourself and your family at times. So that worked for me, to be honest, and it suited me with football because it was early starts, early finishes, after training or matches or see the kids.
So you mentioned about that move to Hednesford, which sparked your football, love again. What was it about playing for them that really got you kind of back falling in love with football, do you think?
We got a good side, so you used to go to games and training, and you've got good players, you've got good lads, and I think it was that. I think we had a great kind of spirit about the group, and we used to have a laugh. I mean, it was more about that. We'd go and we'd win games, but we'd have a laugh along the way. The lads would be in the bar after games, so it was more the whole atmosphere of it all, really. With some of the characters we got in the dressing room, so it was that really that brought it kind of back to me, and that's where I started to realise that the difference in non-league and kind of and pro football is chalk and cheese in 100%. The way it is. I mean, it's just but which one do I prefer? I'll be honest with you. Apart from naturally the obvious things like the kind of security of it and the money and the stature of what you do, you probably have more of a laugh in non-league because it's serious on a Saturday when the whistle goes, but it's not as serious kind of the rest of the time probably. Everyone wants to win, but it's not the be all and end all really. So I think it's lads that go to work, they release his football, and they have a good time doing it. And it's probably that element really that I think everybody loves it. And I think now you speak to people, and I think a lot of people say that, especially if you go back a couple of years, that kind of that's drifting out of the game a little bit. Even at non-league level, I think people are getting more professional, in terms of, probably because it's, you're getting younger players involved more, and they've probably come from clubs who, they'll have a protein shake after games, and it'll all be, and they'll be doing all the fitness work, all the clinic band stuff before training, before games. And obviously back in the day, it was, you'd have a few shots at each other. You'd have a beer after training, a beer after your game, and that was it. So I think everything's changing. So we'll see if it's for the better.
I think the main thing for me about non-league is, as you said quite rightly, the moment is full time. The fact that both teams then meet after the game they're all in the same bar most of the time. Everyone kind of mingles, everyone talks to each other, everyone's very approachable, friendly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot more camaraderie in non-league, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you get that because you get to know the supporters, you get to know, the chairman, you get to know the chairman's wife, you get to, you get to know everybody. Do you know what I mean? Because they're all such like the clubs are normally like very family run, and all the volunteers are there week in, week out, do anything for anybody. You kind of, that corporate element of it isn't there. Which, and I think it's a real great environment, if I'm honest.
Yeah. So you mentioned there that whilst when you first stepped away and had that period of time where you moved to non-league, that you were studying for a degree. So what was it you were studying?
Sports science.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you find that?
It was tough. It was really tough, to be honest. Like, obviously, trying to work around, your job, your football, your kids, your missus, and study. It was tough, but I had a lot of support around me that could kind of help me out when I needed it and things. So it was the amount of times I wanted to quit was ridiculous, but the wife kept saying to me, "No, you're sticking it out." So you do as you're told at home, don't you? So
100%.
So I stuck it out, and it was it was the best thing I did. So
yeah, definitely. When did the first kind of idea come into, once your playing career kind of stopped, that you wanted to go into coaching? When did that first come about?
I think you look at how you can stay in the game. I mean, when you're getting older, I know that I'm 36. I know I can't run around forever. So I think that that if you want to stay in football, which I do because I really enjoy it, you want to stay involved somewhere. So, I've kind of got into different roles with different teams, within the non-league ladder. And I think a lot of people, I suppose, respect kind of what you've done within football, and a lot of the younger players will kind of take on board, if you like, what it is you're saying, because, you've probably, a lot of them probably want to go and kick on from non-league and achieve, and get into the pro game, So I think a lot of them will listen and take on board and kind of go from there, really.
Yeah.
So I think that's why managers like to have players of experience. Obviously, you've got some managers who will always, I suppose, feel threatened with somebody who's experienced, because they'll probably be, they'll be a little bit insecure and looking over their shoulder in that regard. But, and I think I've had that. I think I've had that in the past, but it's never going to be about that. I mean, I want to work in a moment, like the guy I work with, he's brilliant. I mean, he knows that eventually I want to be, in more management, but he wants me to kind of learn from him because he's really experienced.
Yeah.
As a manager, I mean, so it's great that he feels like that about me, that, he trusts my opinion, and he trusts me in kind of what I want to get out of it, and obviously what I can bring to the table. And likewise, I mean, I trust him in terms of him helping me, develop that part of my character.
Yeah. Have you done any? I'm guessing you've done some coaching badges to some degree, or what?
Yeah, you do. I think you do like you do like your level 1 and 2. I think it is, or is it level 1 and 2? I think it's like classed as your B. I think I'm not sure. I've got the ones you do as in the youth teams.
Yeah.
You do them as a part of your scholarship, if you like. And you're a kid, but in non-league, I don't think it really matters what badges you've got. If I'm honest, I think there are a couple of non-league managers who've got all these badges, but actually, they're not probably what it needs. I mean, because sometimes you can be too technical at non-league.
Yeah.
With all the all this kind of coaching element, but you may put a session on that's maybe too, it might be too difficult for the caliber of players that you've got and the pitch quality you've got, and and things like that, because we all know that the game is played totally different in non-league than it is on a nice carpet.
Yes, I think you can have all the badges in the world that you want, but realistically, when you've only got one training session a week with some players, it's very limited as to what you can do, isn't it, realistically?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. And like I said before, when players have been at work all week and it's cold on a Tuesday night, the last thing players want to do is stand around and kind of be cold, while the coach is putting on some mad drill.
Yeah.
A lot of lads just want to come in, get a sweat on, and go home really, and get in the bar and have a chat and a bit of banter and and look at it, and maybe watch a game that's on in the kind of in the bar. But
yeah,
I think sometimes, especially non-league, I think people can overcomplicate it.
Definitely. So, one final question from myself before I go on to some Instagram questions, if that's okay. You mentioned about then you wanted to, take your career one step further and go into management on your own.
Yeah.
What would a Kris Taylor team be? What is your identity, or are you still kind of figuring that part out?
Probably figuring it out, but I think it would have to depend on where it was, because obviously if you're a team that's playing and you've got maybe AstroTurf facilities that you're playing on week in, week out, naturally I suppose your team setup would be different than if you're playing on a quagmire, because you wouldn't be able to maybe play. I'm probably someone that would like to pass, but it depends. I think you've got to be able to adapt, really. But I'd probably say I'm still learning, finding my feet in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. So let's finish on some Instagram questions then, because do you know what? I'm just not going to bother advertising on Twitter anymore, because the last 3 guests we've had no questions, but Instagram questions pop off. So I'm not bothering on Twitter anymore. You can forget it. So let's start off with Shane's question. He says, other than Manchester United, who's the best player you've played with from your career?
I think Paul Merson's got to be up there.
Yeah.
Paul Merson, Vinny Samway is one of those. David Bentley, he was good when he was England.
It's a shame he didn't stick it out a little bit longer. But I know his reasons why. He's obviously come out publicly and said it. But it's a shame that David Bentley didn't stick it out for a little bit longer, because I remember watching Norwich. He was a talent even then. Yeah.
He's a great player. He was a great lad as well. He was right. We had a screen when we used to go away on trips and stuff.
Yeah,
that was probably after the battle. We used to enjoy ourselves too much.
Well, you must have heard the story about why he got dropped from Norwich. Have you heard about that?
Go on.
Go on. You remember the it was a Carlsberg advert where Peter Kay came in and kicks the ball away in the middle of a training session. Have it. Yeah, he did that in the middle of a training session, and Nigel Worthington said, "Right, you're out," and just completely dropped him for like 2 or 3 months. Yeah. Completely random.
Definitely got that in.
So cheers for that question, Shane. We've got Ben, who then predictably asked, who's the best player at Man United that you saw?
Veron.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like if you got, obviously, the times you train with the first team, you couldn't get near him.
Yeah.
You got Veron, Scholes, and Van Nistelrooy with people thought Van Nistelrooy was just a poacher who would go and stick his head, but his touch into feet and his hold-up play was so much better than people gave it credit for.
Yeah, definitely.
So
we've got Jamie OB, who asks, when were you happiest in football?
Ooh. You've got to say when I was living my dream when I was at United.
Yeah,
I would imagine it has to be. I mean, because that's what you aspire as a kid. You look and you think, what do you want to do? You kind of got this dream of making it. It was like I don't ever class myself as making it. I know I played quite a lot of league games, but I think making it would have been the Premier League player. And kind of and getting those accolades of consistency at that level. But I think you got to say, when I went to United as a boy, as a Man United fan, rocking up every day to Carrington and seeing all the first team players and speaking to the first team players, it was like, it was a kid's dream, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. We've got Ian Scully who says, who was the best manager you worked under, and also who was the best manager for your game?
When we talk, obviously, worked under, technically you'd say Fergie, but he didn't really work day to day.
Yeah.
So I won't put that one. I like Mickey Adams. It was just the way he worked, the way, you know, I mean, he was just straight to the point. You know, he worked hard. We enjoyed ourselves. You know, so I'd probably say Mickey Adams, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And then who best developed your game? Who was best for your?
I think Colin Lee would have more. You know, he did in the short time that I was with him. But I think my biggest probably regret is him going when he did, because I think my game would have developed a lot more than it did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So DJ Smoke asked, any moves that didn't go through that you wish had have done? So any transfers that nearly happened that looking back you maybe regret, or wish had happened rather than regret.
I think I suppose it depends how you look at it. Again, like hindsight is difficult because, you know, do you make the decision? Obviously, it was my dream to go and play for United. You know, if I'd have gone and I could have gone to Villa and got, you know, a considerable amount more money, and possibly would have had more opportunities, because at the time Villa was an unreal academy, you know, and let's be honest, it wasn't one of the biggest clubs in the world, but still a very good club. So would I have got more opportunities if I'd have gone somewhere like that, or even stayed at Wolves, than gone and done what I, you know, decided to do what I did. But you know, we'll never kind of never know. I think I always look at it and think everything happens for a reason. So
yeah,
you know, apart from maybe working a bit harder.
Yeah. We've got Ben Astor who asks, how high up the management ladder do you want to go? So do you have any kind of aspirations in terms of that level? Are you looking Football League, etc., or is it?
At the minute, I'd be saying, you know, you, before you start looking too far ahead, I think you've got to kind of earn your stripes, you know, for myself, you know, at the lower levels, and then see what develops. I mean, would I be in a hurry to get back into, you know, full-time football where there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of kind of nonsense that goes along with the football part, in terms of, you know, you living year to year, you don't know where you're at, you know, you go to a club, you leave a club, suddenly you're out of work, you know, there's a lot of that. You know, it's not an enjoyable time to live at times. You know, I've had enough stuff happen to me which, you know, you kind of appreciate what's important in life. You know, I mean, you know, it's only, you know, 6 years ago and I was having chemo, so it's, you know, you don't sort of think, you know, football's not the be all and end all. You know, enjoy it and enjoy, you know, being with your family. Do you know what I mean? And if you get an opportunity, then great. But if not, then so be it.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got one final question, and I've saved the best till last on this one. I think this is a great question. Jacob Taylor asks, what advice would you give to an 18-year-old Kris Taylor?
Work harder. When you look at how hard, you know, what you have to do to earn your money in the real world, you know, you have to work a lot hard. You know, you've got put a lot more hours in. Whereas when you're playing football, you train for, you know, what, 2 hours every day.
Yeah.
You know, so even if you then went and did 2 hours in the gym or 2 hours extra training, doing extra work, you know, it's still only a 4 hour day. But then 2 hours every day that you're doing extra is going to be a massive improvement on either you physically or technically or something. So I think my biggest thing would be that, you know, work harder, do more. Do you know what I mean? Because I look at myself and I think, did I do enough? I don't think I did. You know, I'm not saying I'd have gone and played for Man United, but I think I'd have had a better career than I did from, you know, like I say, working harder. And that's not saying I didn't work hard in training and things like that, but because there wouldn't have been a problem to go and do a couple of hours every day practicing, doing extra, and that's why it's on. You see things now even on Twitter and people kind of having a pop at the lads doing loads of training like now, and I just think, why? The people that are having a pop are probably lads that aren't doing anything.
Yeah,
that probably really know that actually they're going to come back flying. They're going to come back fit. I'm going to look like a prat. So if I give them a bit of stick, then I might stop doing it. I don't have to do it then.
Yeah.
You mean? But so I just think it's the work ethic. You mean?
And
that's probably my one regret, really, especially that 1 year between when I was 17, 18.
Yeah. Very honest assessment, and it's been a fantastic chat with you. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on the Non League Nosh and sort of telling us your story and your journey. It's been a great listen. So again, really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's been good. Enjoyed it.
If you guys at home have enjoyed it from a YouTube perspective, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel as well. If you've been listening to this on any other podcasting platform, then make sure you leave us a 5-star review and also subscribe on those ones as well. But thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this episode. And until next time, as always, adios.